All right, everyone, welcome back to the Lions Guy podcast. And on today's show, we have Mr. JT Frank. He is revisiting us after episode 9. He's the host of the podcast Consequence of Habit. We've got Jeff Harris, who's, man, this is his trifecta. He's back for the third time. Originally, his story he shared with us on episode 24, and then he came on with our April challenge, the 4x4x48. And he's just an ultra performer, Marine. Man, not right now, but go back and listen to the episode with him, and you'll feel, we're going to talk about what this guy does. He drives me nuts. All right. Anyway, and then Kris Bachman, who is just recently on episode 54, is running coach, frontrunnercoaching.com. And thank you guys for coming on today, and welcome back. We'll go ladies first. Kris, tell us 30-second version of who you are and what you do.
Oh my gosh. I'm a mom of 3 and a distance runner. I've qualified for Boston 4 times, run it twice, and have just gone all in on running. And I love it. It's inspired me to start my own coaching business to help other people become a front runner as well. It's not just running, it's more of mindset change, nutrition, strength training, everything all in one, because that's what it takes to be a front runner, and it's a lifestyle.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Jeff, how about you?
Yeah, I'm a runner. I'll run anything from short distances to ultras. My claim to fame is the Murph. That's my go-to. I just ran a 33:28 last month, but my goal is a sub 30. That was a training run. It still beat the world record, just unofficial. But it's a dream I've been chasing down for many years. I just want to become the person that is physically and mentally tough enough to be able to do that. And then I'm good. No celebrations. I just want to live in a world where that's possible. Day job, I'm CRO, Chief Revenue Officer of Order My Gear, a tech company based in Dallas. I spend my weeks here, run down here at city level, and then I live in Colorado and father of 3.
Awesome. Cool. Welcome back, man. And
Thanks.
then last but not least, we got Mr. JT Frank, Consequence of Habit. What's going on, JT?
Not much. First off, thanks for having me. To be part of this group, I'll be dealing with some imposter syndrome, I think, for a little bit. But yeah, like I said, my name is JT, and I'm the founder of Consequence of Habit, which is a 501c3 nonprofit. And our mission is to bring awareness to the impact that habits have on our mental health, success, and the environment. Runners. So my running history, I remember I was asked one time, like, do you run or are you a runner? And I think that probably depends on what phase of my life I'm in. Thanks to you right now, I consider myself a runner, Dale, as we're doing this 100-mile challenge. But we'll get into it. Yeah, I mean, to me, I think it's the most bang for the buck as far as just jumping out the door and going out for a run. And I mean that not just physically, but mentally as well. But I'm stoked to dive into that.
Yeah, man. No, definitely. I agree. Like, we were talking, so while we're here, we'll start there. So, here in the Lions Guy community, I've been half-assing last minute, like there's a monthly challenge and throwing stuff online and seeing who will bite on. And, the crazy train has gotten bigger the past couple of months as we've done it, starting with the 4x4x48 and last month, the month of Murphs, and now, the 100-300 challenge. And Jeff and I are in like a little private group that we challenge each other. And it just I was like, what are we doing this month? And I think Joel and Eve was like, I don't know, you tell us. And I was like, let's go run 100 miles. And I was like, yeah, there we go. And that was it. And there we are. So now we got a bunch of people out here push themselves to do 100 miles. So, and just to kind of be fair, more inclusive, I guess, because I know some folks can't take the pounding or for whatever reason. Maybe Kris, you've got some insights on that. And maybe we can see if that's a thing. But I did. So the challenge is officially 100 miles on feet, whether running, walking, hiking, whatever, or 300 miles on a bike. And the reason I kind of did that, I just quickly Googled, one, consider people that can't run or can't take the impact of running. And then, what's the equivalent? And Google says, a little under 3 miles is equivalent of a mile ran. So here we are. So kind of running around the horn. Kris, we'll go back to you. Like, so when you saw that, what's your kind of personal goals with running? Maybe even why you said, yeah, I'll throw my hat in the ring on this one. Like what's kind of your goals and personal ambitions around this?
Yeah, was right up my alley. I was like excited for this one. Uh, I'm currently working with a coach now because I have been working toward a goal of breaking 3 hours in the marathon. It's been a goal that I've had for a few years now, and with distance running and having an injury in the past, it's been a kind of an up and down journey. So I'm just hoping to have a consistent training block where I can really start taking some time off. My previous record is a 3:11 that I ran at the Lakefront Marathon in Milwaukee, 2019. So I know I can do it. It's just having that block of time to really, really put some good training in and take some time off. So that's what I'm working toward right now, is just to get faster for a longer period of time. I do have a running coach who helps me also with strength training. And, he just, he understands my passion, my goal. He's also my governor because I want to go all in all the time. And so I need to be pulled back a little bit sometimes. But that's what I'm working on right now. And it's a fun, big, scary goal. And I don't even know where that goal came from. It just seems like it's a really hard thing to do, but I don't know. That's where I'm at.
Sweet. That's awesome. JT, how about you?
So, I mean, you're talking about just is this challenge on to be honest with you, I didn't even know if I could do it. There was a time I ran a lot. When I say ran, there was not long distances, but even like when I was in the military, I was a sub 11-minute 2 miles, like it was like 10:50s. Like I ran, and then but I was built differently then, and honestly, after 2 back surgeries, I'm like, I don't think this running thing is for me. I'm going to find something different. So when that challenge that came up, a lot of times I'm like, yeah, I'll do it, and then I process it. Like, but the problem is I've already texted to you, Dale. So at this point, I'm kind of in, right? And I've loved it so far. I mean, I think it's going a lot better than I thought it would. Again, getting back to him for multiple different reasons, just even my own brain, and then just feeling my fitness in that aspect. When you came and did the podcast at my house, you and I went for a 3-mile run, and I hadn't really been running. Remember, I said I ran like 3 or 4 days before you showed up. And to be honest with you, I was fucking miserable. I mean, it wasn't miserable. I was really hurting more than I was trying to let on. But that was an eye opener. Like, man, I gotta do something here. So this whole thing worked out perfectly right on the backside of the Murph. And now I'm clocking some miles in.
Yeah, man. No. Thanks for sharing. And I appreciate the vulnerability too. And I remember, like, I was picking on you a little bit because when I showed up there, I was like, "So how much you been running, man?" And he goes, "Yeah, I ran 3 miles on I don't know what day I got there. I was like, you were like, I ran 2 miles on Monday, and I showed up on a Thursday. I'm like, what? You tried to run just to get ready for this run?" And you're like, "Yeah,
yeah, 100%."
And I was in the same boat. I mean, I wanted to take the opportunity just to, mix it up. I don't know how many podcasts show up at your house and go, "Hey man, let's go for a run before we do the podcast." But
one.
but I would, just wanted to take that opportunity while we had it. But no, and I appreciate that because I honestly, I was in the same boat. I hadn't been running, and just like freaking, and it's a good part of the arsenal. So, we got to save, so here to embarrass us all, Jeff, what's your put us all to shame, Jeff? What are your goals? What are your goals, Jeff, on this month of miles?
It's the only competition is really it's you against you. It's it's like we all have our own journey, and I have my journey that I own. So yeah, I started off. I ran cross country and track in high school, and it was a means to an end. I didn't care for the running. I ran because I was an ice hockey player, and I looked at it as to get me stronger for being on the ice. And then in the military, in the Marine Corps, you run 3 miles in 18 minutes or less for your PFT or physical fitness test. And my goal was always 18 minutes or less. My last year I was in Singapore and I ran 15 and a half.
Wow.
And then I was like, I'm done running, 3-mile runs. Cause it's 15 minutes of pain. quite honestly. That's all it is. And and I kind of fell out of running. I got back into hockey, and I had back injuries as well, and got back into running. Gosh, when my wife and I started dating 10, 12 years ago, she was a runner, and she was out running marathons and half marathons. And on the weekend, she was always out with like a 20-mile run or something. I just get on my bike and I would just ride. And it's like, hey, I'll carry some food or some water. And it's like, why don't you run with me? It's like, my running days are over. And something clicked, 4 years ago, and I just started running again.
Hmm.
And I haven't stopped. I'm like Forrest Gump. I just keep going. And this year, my goal is a combination of running and biking 10,000 miles, and I'm closing in on 5,000 for the year. Majority of those are on the bike, but I look at running as part of like booting up my program every day. Right now, I'm running shorter distances, but I typically run 100, 200 a month. Soon, I have an ultra later this summer running from Crested Butte to Aspen. It's 40 miles over a pass, all above 10,000 feet. So I'll be running a lot for that. But right now, my whole focus is on the Murph. So I'm running shorter distances, much faster,
Hmm.
and working on that before I get into anything bigger. And running just helps me. There's so many benefits of it. I'm sure we'll get into it, but big thing to me, it helps me to really rest and sleep. And I actually don't feel right if I haven't run. I mean, that's just me. I have to run every single day, and it helps my mind to ignite.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yep.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we were saying in the pregame. Man, my brain has been on fire since the beginning of this month, and I really got back. I'm doing 5 miles a day. I'm doing one break day, and dude, my brain has just been lit. So I like didn't want to run with my phone, and I wasn't. So I just did the watch detached, and I was just keeping track of how much I put in. But my brain was just firing. So then I'm running with my phone, so I can just like try to capture everything that's like popping up, whether it's ideas or whatever. So I had to kind of regroup my game because normally I like to do that, like avoid the phone. I've been trying to avoid the phone. I'll just have this notebook. Well, I'm not going to run around my neighborhood with a notebook, and be that guy. It's bad enough I'm running around with no shoes
I
on.
know a
And
guy who runs around with a tennis
laptop.
racket. I think you
Yeah.
know him.
What's up, Frank?
His initials are Frank Leo.
I guess that said, yeah, I guess I could run with worse things. So, but no, man, it has been awesome because and two, I'll say like I had run a few marathons and just the 3 to 4 month workup for that and the races kind of burned me out of running. Like I was doing that every year and I was just like, I'm done. Like, I wanted to focus on other stuff, but then messing with you guys and like, because I didn't even know about what an ultra was. And then you guys were coming around, I'm an ultra runner, and I'm like, well, what's that mean? And then you and Kris and other folks were like giving me different answers. I'm like, well, wait a minute, and so that kind of has inspired me. And again, back to the you versus you. One thing about our group I love is that we're not in competition. We are just setting the example for one another, which is awesome, and pushing each other and like say putting on display. We're all just like pushing, so it's fun. So as far as you guys like run and plan, I know I'm just trying to do right now. I'm just doing 5 miles a day, 6 days a week with a recovery. When I did the Murph last month, I just started to ramp up. Once I got through the first week, I kind of looked back and said, okay, well, I had a little Jeff Harris in my head going, well, I could be doing a little bit more here. And then I started leveling up what my original game plan was. I feel like next week I'm going to start leveling up my run game. But what's you guys plan as far as the month and kind of what you're trying to with relation to your goals and what you're doing, whether you're ramping up or whatever.
I
I can
can.
go. My goal this month, so I have a different challenge every month. And by the way, thanks Dale for stepping up in our group and leading the way. I feel like, there was a lot of us that came up with different challenges, and it's great to have somebody fresh and new come up with ideas for the monthly challenges. And congrats on the Murph for both of you. Doing that on every day for a month is no easy feat. It is a mental, physical challenge. So congrats. And Dale, you put up an incredible world class time, by the way,
Yeah.
which was fantastic. Very few people can do that. It was amazing. It takes a lot of work. My goal this month was before this month was even announced. I was like, all right, I'm going to put in 900 miles on the bike because I'm a little bit behind on my pace I have set. And and 100 miles of running because I've been putting in 150 to 200-mile months, and so it's kind of like an off month almost. But 1,000, and I do a Murph every single day,
Mm.
and I haven't missed, so I'm at 300 and I don't know something miles already this month. Today's day 10, but I sleep like a baby, quite honestly. I actually don't need as much sleep as probably most people. I track it every day. It's the most important thing to me. And I look at how my body recharges because you can sleep 10 hours, but if you've had some alcohol or something or a stressful day, your body probably hasn't recharged. And so you got to know, like Kris is saying, if you got to put the governor on and hold yourself back. And so I'm looking every day. It's like, how hard can I push myself? Or do I just need to go into a maintaining training mode? You're not redlining every single day. It's like there's some mornings I get up and it's like, I'm just going to run, 4 9-minute miles. And other days I'm like, yeah, I'm going to crush this thing.
Mm.
It's going to hurt. So, and you have to know how hard you can push yourself. And honestly, there's a great book, Endure. Stress times rest equals results. And stressing your body is one thing, but where the results come from is during that rest period.
Mm.
And I find that the more I've trained, I haven't missed a day of training in going on 4 years now. And that was because of surgery, which had nothing to do with my fitness. But I find the more I train, the less sleep and my body bounces back as long as I take care of it with the right nutrition, rest, recovery, and all the things I do to maintain my system with Epsom salt baths, massages, all that other stuff. Then I recover pretty quickly.
Cool.
Yeah.
Kris,
Kris,
JT, what do you guys do?
Who's going? I can go.
You're up, Kris.
So, I already have, planned on running pretty much 6 days a week anyway, but I wanted to still challenge myself in a way for this challenge. And so it was adding additional, maybe it's one more mile per day, or maybe it's one more interval per day, because my training consists of doing some pretty short bursts of high intensity. So it could be 10-second sprints, it could be 60-second sprints, up to I think 5 minutes. And it's a perceived effort level of 6, 8, and then 10. So that last set is all out as hard as you can go. And then I add some additional aerobic running, after I get through those intervals. And so I do a lot of also incline running, anywhere from 4% to 10% incline, which really gets your posterior chain going, gets all of those muscles firing, helps with form, helps with fatigue at the end of a race. So that's how I'm working right now to get faster. But to add to this challenge, I've been doing like one more interval, one more mile, one more something, to keep pushing myself. So I appreciate the challenge.
So you've got a running coach. I think you're saying like
Mm-hmm.
it was there any like kind of debate or like because you mentioned earlier like your coach serves as your governor as well. When you came, it
Yeah.
was like, hey, yeah, and I'm going to do 100 miles, or it's going to be a part of my thing. Like, was there any kind of like, well, wait a minute, what are we doing, or pushback or concern?
He's great at we've worked together for a couple of years now, so he gets me. He knows like I need to do this, and it's just every week kind of a check-in of like, how are you feeling, Jeff, like you were saying, like how are you recovered, are you sleeping well, are you eating well, are you taking care of yourself, does anything hurt, and taking care of those things, being more proactive than reactive, if things aren't feeling good.
Yeah, yeah, cool.
I'm looking at it, and I'm just trying to be smarter about it. A lot of times when I would get back into running, I had that mentality like I was 18, 19 years old, and I would try and go too hard too quick. And then about 3 weeks, 2.5, 3 weeks, I would inevitably something would hurt. And every run was kind of miserable. Like Jeff, you were saying like, hey, 3 miles would get, but you're at your like VO2 max. So you had to go into, or I was going in every run like, hey, this is gonna suck. Where I'm really trying to build a foundation over this month and go out and that's like I was even start 3-4 miles at a time and just not murdering myself, like going out and being okay with it being a 9-minute mile. And then with this plan, we'll see how it turns out that we can start ramping that up and times can come down a little bit. But to be honest with you, I'm not I'm not crazy worried about the times because I know inevitably that's gonna be a natural occurrence. So I'm just not gonna try and kill it. Best shape I've ever been in. I was young, but I was running with somebody who's the age I am now. I was in the Pocono Mountains in Pennsylvania, and we started off not going too far, but it was all trail running. And then by the time I went into the Air Force, I was doing 12, 13-mile trail runs and had no idea I was fast until I showed up and we did our first 2-mile run. I was looking around like, oh my God, I don't know how that happened, but I got fast and I wasn't killing myself. I wasn't, I was 19, but I wasn't going out and killing myself. So I'm just trying to remember that. And then also trying to keep some of the same gains, keep some of the gains that came along with doing the Murph challenge. I mentioned to Dale, that my pull-ups got a lot stronger than they've been in a very long time. So I'm going to continue to do between 50 and 100 pull-ups every day on top of it, just because I've always been one or the other. I either got decent at running, which means, but I wouldn't do the resistance training. So I'd kind of get just thinner, but I wouldn't have the strength. So I'm going to try and keep as much strength and have my cake and eat it too.
I'm with you. I think so. JT and I talked offline because I too wanted to keep the Murphs going. So I was shifting to where at least a half Murph was going to be my warm up, workout, do a half Murph, and then do my main set, whatever that was. Sometimes it's jujitsu. Sometimes right now it's running. But yeah, I wanted to do the same thing just to keep it going. I'm going to pick the half Murphs up next week because I did do that. But see, so to the point of going too hard, so the Murph was on a Monday, right? The official Murph, Memorial Day. Did that after a freaking month of doing Murphs. And then I was like, well, the last day of the month isn't until the day after Memorial Day. So then I suited up and did a double Murph the next day. And then I was like, well, now we're in June, so I'm going to start this half Murph thing and keep that going. And I got right back on the bar, and my just forearm after that was real pain, right? It wasn't sore, the whole Murph, I had the progressive soreness that I was just pushing through and getting the gains, but I had pain throughout the day. So I'm just giving my forearms a break with the pull-ups for now. But I'm with you because it's all of it, right? A lot of people don't realize, right? We've got our aerobic system, we've got our anaerobic system, our VO2 max, our anaerobic system is our strength and VO2 max, and maintaining that stuff, and it all matters. So I'm with you. So we'll Jeff sounds too, because Jeff, you were saying you do a Murph every day. And when you do a Murph every day, are you doing full on vest or just running through?
No, it depends. Every day is a little bit different. There's a method to the madness in how you train for the Murph, quite honestly, because you have 2 1-mile runs, and I always look at, it's like martial arts. You got to punch through your target, and so I'll do more than that. I'll run 2 miles or 3 miles, and I'll break down my sets to 5, 10, 15, but I'll do 30 sets or I'll do 40 sets. So I'll do 1.5 or 2 Murphs, but every set is timed, and so you start off training. So I start off in April 1st for this year, and I'll do 3-month workup. Because I'll do this around the end of June, early July is when I'll finally be like, all right, I'm going to put the pedal to the metal. But I start off with every minute on the minute, 5, 10, 15, and building a foundation. And then I go to 55 seconds, 50 seconds, 45 seconds. Now I'm down to 40 seconds. And then I also throughout the week, I'll add the vest, and I'll just do 20 sets or I'll do 30 sets, because what I'm trying to do is build up my cardiovascular, so that whenever I go to do the Murph, my whole goal is to do the sets within 13 and a half minutes, so that I can run 2 7.5-minute miles with a 20-pound vest. And that might not sound like it's that hard. It's actually very challenging.
No, it sounds
especially at 7,000 feet. It's very, very brutal. But the legs feed the wolf. And so it's all about being able to do those squats rapidly and actually have really great form. And I pride myself in doing dead hang pull-ups, not doing the dolphin kip, and I'm not judging anybody who does that, doing full push-ups and doing all the way down and up squats. And so it's really about building up your cardiovascular to be able to do that. And I just kind of reverse engineered the whole Murph, because I've done it so many times. It's how can I train my body to be able to endure this thing? And I just look at it as okay, 30 minutes or less of kind of pure pain and suffering. But how can I make it get my body to a point where it's not so much pain and suffering? It's that I can do this. I'm confident I can do it. And so I always say it's when I ask somebody, it's like, hey, when they're doing Murph, it's like, what kind of what kind of time you shooting for? It's like, I don't know. I just hope I do something. To me, hope is not a strategy. I know exactly how fast I'm going to run a Murph every single day because I know what pace I'm going to run, and then I know when my Murph sets how I'm going to whatever that's going to come out to, whether it's 15 minutes, 14 minutes. So I know exactly what I'm going to run every single time. When I put on the vest, then it ups the ante a little bit. But you got to get comfortable wearing a vest, which is why one of the reasons earlier this year we ran the 4x4x48 Dale, and I ran the whole thing with a vest. I don't recommend that to somebody if you haven't done it, because you could really hurt yourself. Your body, first of all, running 48 miles in 48 hours, that's a lot of poundage on your body. You got to work up to that stuff. The first
Yeah.
time I did it, my feet felt crushed, and since then, 48 miles is I'm good. Next day I'm out training, I feel fine. That's me though. Yeah.
What I guess I'd be interested in all of you guys' experience in that, right? Because I was just listening to something the other day about as far as your event, not training through it. So I think I'm hearing you say, Jeff, that you do double Murph, triple Murph, 1.5, whatever, as your workup. And then there's the ideology, like for a marathon, maybe Kris speaks to like some of what she's seen here is like not running. Like if you're training for a marathon, are you running 30 miles to get ready for the marathon? What are you guys seeing that works for you, or which is which? Is there, just interested in your thoughts? Cause I'm just curious.
I'll let Chris take that because I look at those races. I'm training to an event, but something shorter. I'm punching through it. That's me.
Mm.
That's what I'm trying to do.
I think it depends on the athlete for sure. I was training for a marathon and just, was given a time, just run for 3 hours and 30 minutes. And that happened to be over 26 miles when I was done. And I had a great race. I was the strongest I've ever felt, during a race, and I was running at altitude, and a lot of hills. So I think it's all depends on how you kind of condition your body and how you're feeling. Definitely with shorter races, I would train over that amount
Okay.
of miles, especially like a half. I want to make sure I could run like 14, 15 pretty easily. Because then when you get to race day, like you're like, oh, I only have to 13 to do, like, no problem.
That's my mindset. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're doing less today. So
Yeah. Easy day.
yeah, easy day for sure. But I know, for a lot of like marathon training programs, 20 miles is usually sufficient. 22 miles to get, to finish the race. Those last 6 miles are just hell anyway. So
So why go through hell for the 12 to 16 weeks
right.
ramping
Well,
up?
it just
Yeah.
increases your chance of injury.
Mhm.
Going beyond the 20 to 22 mile
Yeah.
mark.
And I find the shorter distance, like running cross country in high school. My high school was known in Missouri as like one of the fastest cross country teams, and we would put in an insane amount of miles every single week. We had our long distance days, and every other day was track day, and it was brutal because if you want to run fast, you got to run fast.
Got to run
That's what I'm
fast.
saying. The
Yeah.
only way to run fast is you got to run fast, and it is not comfortable. And you have to train your body to do that, but you also have to get the endurance there, and it's a lot of miles just to run that 3 mile race.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The JT, like I know you're running around a lot. Like so kick us off on like challenges you guys are overcoming to meet the demands to get the miles in. JT, what are you doing? What are you having to do?
I mean, something that doesn't come natural, which is managing my time. I'm on the road right now, pretty much all month, and some of this I'll be overseas. So planning that stuff out was when I'm overseas, especially like I have to have my alarm clock is going to go off, and I'm going to be on very little sleep, and my time zones are going to be all jacked up. But I just have to go through the motion of starting. Um, and some of that's going to be, well, almost all that will be on a treadmill. And I'm traveling even privately next week, not for work. And I've already tried to figure out exactly when I'm going to run. It's on vacation. So I have to be sensitive to everybody's time on when I'm going to be able to do this and not interfere with plans. But that would probably be my biggest. Yeah, I have to plan it out. Otherwise, it's just literally not going to happen. And that's why, yeah, you always will post something like the sun's coming up, and I know you have a set time. You kind of get up every day, and I think that's probably the way to do it. Like I got up today and I saw your post. I'm like, son of a bitch, I should have gotten up earlier and done this. Uh, son, son had been up for a bit at that time. But yeah, just planning out. That's going to be my biggest thing, and then pushing through jet lag because once you start, you're fine.
Mhm.
Once you get in that first mile or two, then you feel okay. But it's just starting that process, putting your shoes on, like sludging to the treadmill with your coffee and hitting start. But once you've done that, I think you're halfway there.
Yeah.
You're right. You hit on something really important there around creating habits, and it comes back to I think it's called the BJ Frog model. There's a book called The Tiny Habits, and I actually teach this a lot in sales, and then with customer success teams. I'm teaching right now because what we're doing is we're changing behaviors. And how do you change a behavior? You have to have the motivation and you have to have the ability, but it also takes prompts. And so if you tell me, hey, I'm going to start, I've never ran before, I'm going to start running, 3 miles a day, 5 days a week, your ability to do that is actually pretty low. You might have a high motivation, but you probably don't have enough to actually achieve that. But you have to prompt yourself. And so the things I do to prompt, because I travel every single week, is it's like, I sleep in my running shorts. I have my shoes and my socks sitting there. My phone is charged. I know what, when I run, either it's silent or I'm listening to an audiobook. I don't listen to as many podcasts anymore, but I'm always listening to an audiobook or I'm just thinking. It's my time to like think and solve problems. I have my running shirt sitting there, and I hold myself accountable. It's like I always let if I'm home, let my wife know. It's like, hey, and she usually tells me she doesn't care anymore. But it's like, hey, I'm up at 4:30 tomorrow. I'm running. I'm doing this, that, and the other. It's like great, and she's also a runner as well. But she always looks at it as like you don't have to broadcast your whole thing. I'm like, just clarified expectations. I'm untouchable during these times. So,
It's
um,
4:30. No one's trying to touch you. Like no one's.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I find the only other human being up in the world, because Dale is actually 2 hours ahead of me, is that's the one person who is up. So I can share things with Dale because I know he's already been up and going at it. And sometimes I wake up and I'm just recharged. I look at my watch and it's 3:30 in the morning, and I'm like, I'm good. It's rock and roll. And other times, I got to listen to my body. This morning, my wife got into Dallas late last night, and so she actually arrived at my bedtime, which is 9 o'clock sharp. Hey, that's what happens when you reach
Yeah.
level of 48, folks, and you got to get up. Rest is key. So well, I stayed up with her for a couple hours. Didn't get as much sleep, but slept in till like 6, and then we went to the gym this morning, and both worked out, had a good run and stuff. But you got to listen to your body. But yeah, you have to prompt yourself. You have to set yourself up for success, and it takes the motivation and the ability to do it, because to go out and run like a marathon if you've never ran before, that's hard. You don't have the ability, and so you're gonna be defeated and feel deflated. It's like you got to start off with some easy wins and set yourself up in an environment to succeed. It's like in the mornings or at night, I actually set out, and when I'm at home and here, I keep have a yoga mat set out because do a plank and yoga and stretching before I do anything in the morning. And I have my morning pre-workout stuff made, my vitamins sitting out, my greens that I drink, all that stuff, and my hydration that I have after my workout. It's all set up so that there's nothing preventing me from getting in and making it happen. And it helps me to just be as efficient as possible.
I've noticed something, JT, I don't know about you, but are we all morning runners?
I
Yeah,
have to
because
be.
I feel
It's
like
just not going
running
to
in the morning
happen.
and making it your first priority of the day doesn't allow for anything else to get in your way. Because I feel like the longer you wait during the day, the more chances that something's going to happen that is going to, throw off your day, throw off your workout, throw off your run. And so when you do it first thing, then it's like, check, done. I've taken care of myself. That's how I look at it.
This is probably a terrible time to say that as soon as we're done with this, I'm getting my run in for today.
No. Well, at least you're getting it in, but
Yeah.
Well, I am. I get up at 4 o'clock every day. Jody gets up. Jody and I both get up at 4 every day. We spend our first hour a day having coffee together. In because look, we've all got kids and stuff like that. Like it's hard to find. Like talk about all the important things: working on yourself, reading, exercising, meditating, and even quality time, like for us, like we've got three, and the minute they're up, man, it's on. And so like from 4 to 8 is our personal development time in this house. Jody and I get up
Mhm.
at 4. We have an hour together, just having coffee, talking about what's going on, catching up, whatever. And then at 5, both of us switch to workout mode, and then we reconvene at 8. Like, we just go do our thing. And because all that stuff I have planned for me personally from 5 to 8 at that point, if I don't get it done, then it's not happening. It's not going to happen. And I've learned that. I used to, when I was actively running marathons, I remember I would show up on my long runs on the weekends. And this is when I was drinking and young and 30 and stupid and doing all kinds of the things. And I remember I would show up on the trail at 10 o'clock in the morning, and I ran my runs usually in the fall. So it's hot. And I remember getting on the trails at 10 o'clock, and the sun's just murdering me, and I would just be pissed, like, because I intended to get up, but, I was stupid the night before and couldn't get up, didn't get up, whatever. And that just started to shift my whole, like, once I got serious about my own growth, like, my whole life shifted to, like, this is the most important part of my day, and this is going to be every day. So that's that.
Mhm.
I agree with you, and that's what we do as well. Morning time it's I'm untouchable. It's my sacred time, and that's where it comes back to eating the frog. Do the hard things first, and it's building this wall brick by brick. Every day is just putting a little more hay in the barn is what I call it,
Mm.
and we do the same thing. It's time to read devotional, gratitude journal. That's when I work out, listen to audiobooks, all that stuff. And I get the win on the board because the chances of actually be able to get that done later in the day diminish rapidly, especially being an executive at a company where anything can happen. Everybody wants a piece of your time. And also waiting until the end of the day to get in a workout, you have a limited amount of willpower. So no matter what your intent is, the chances of doing that diminishes as the day goes by. You get tired, things happen, and it becomes easy to be like, I'm too tired, I'll do it tomorrow. And in the mornings, I always say you got to act your way into feeling. It's I don't feel like getting up and doing this stuff every day. It's I'm not a spring chicken. But as I get up and get my mindset right, start going through the motions, next thing you know, it's like I'm cranking out the miles and I feel fantastic. And I also know after I'm finished, the body fuels the mind. It's like my brain is going to be, functioning at a state where I can bring my best to my team. And it helps me with bringing the right energy, to the environment that I'm coming into every day, which is, it's a high impact, high speed environment, what we're doing here. And I can't come in here like Eeyore, it's like so you got to bring the magic.
Yeah.
I
And
wish,
what,
I wish everyone could feel what that feeling feels like when your brain is just fully charged and ready to go after a workout. And I think it would inspire so many people to get out the door, get on the treadmill, or to keep moving their body. Like, it's addictive, right? I mean, that's why we keep going back, because we keep looking for that feeling, that euphoria, the runner's high, like they call it. But I get all of my checklists are done, completed in the time of a run, whatever, 60 minutes, 90 minutes, like world problem solved. I always say, it's just, I thought of my whole like business all during a run. I'm like, this is what I should do. And then it was like the next day it was like, okay, these are the steps I need to do. And the next day it was, I just kept building, like you said, brick by brick, all while I'm running. And it's just, brain on fire. I love it.
You're so correct. I think almost every problem that I solve for any company I'm working with is done while I'm training, either on the bike or I'm running. And Dale, like you, I everything I've ever written and posted on social, I've written while I've been training. I just have the notes app, and
Yep.
I'll stop and I'll put down a few things, and when I get back, I'll actually type it all out because I'll have this whole thought, I got to capture that.
hmm.
And
Yeah.
I know other folks who have done that as well, written their entire books while they've been out training. Yeah.
Yes. Same.
Yeah, it's no. So I guess for you guys, with that said, do you feel that you get that same runner's high from other types of workouts? Like, so we've got high intensity, we've got the endurance runs, we've got weight training. as much as I was doing, like I just did a whole month of Murphs, and before that, I was weight training constantly and all that. But I don't, I don't know. I feel like I'm more on fire, kind of coming straight off that stuff, like from the runs. Do you guys feel the same way, or is it, no matter what you're doing, your brain's lit, or is running, more of an amplifier to that?
I mean, I'll get it from cycling. I mean, I grew up cycling. I grew up racing bikes, and one thing I think that comes from endurance sports, especially if you're doing them for any a period of time, is uh, I don't even know if this doesn't even necessarily answer your question, but you go through highs and lows throughout a long one. Like in a 5K, you're just doing a 5K, but like I've done like 12-hour like adventure races, and you're going to go through dark spots, and then you're going to come out of that. And to me, it was always crazy how low you can go compared to how high you can go in the same. You're doing the same thing, but for whatever reason. So I will get that from cycling, and I'll get that kind of creativity. But again, there's something about like filling your water bottles and then changing your shoes, putting your bike jersey on, getting your helmet, gloves if you're going to wear them, and then there's this other thing of just putting on a pair of running shoes and going out the door. So for me, that's the easiest way. But to answer your question, I'd say the only other thing, I mean, there's a pump that comes from like lifting, but that's not the same. It's different. Running, endurance sports are a very unique thing, I think, when it comes for whatever it does to your brain and creativity and feeling charged.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. My favorite thing to do is snowboard or ski, but and it does take a lot of leg strength, to have fun in the mountains. The mountains will humble anybody,
Mm-hmm.
and that stuff is fun. But the only way I get that kind of endorphin kick is through running, quite honestly. And I think that's what I crave every single day is doing that. And I always say it's like no matter how hard you train or how far you run, somebody is using your workout as their warm up. It's like my goal this year is 10,000 miles. Julie, what is it? Uh, what's his name? Ultra runner. I forget his name. My goodness.
Chris
But
Norris.
he does like, yeah, he does like 22,000 miles a year or something like that.
Oh,
It's
jeez.
it's amazing. It's like my next door neighbor was one of the pace setters for the sub 2 hour marathon. He's from Kenya, and he can go out and run 4s and 5 minute miles for all day long, and it's amazing. And I'm like, I'm just trying to run a 5:30 one time around the track to prove to my son that old man still got it. So
Dude, 22 is it 22,000 miles a year
something like that. Yeah.
divided by 365 is 60 miles a day. Like someone's out there doing 60 miles a
Uh,
day on
maybe
average.
maybe it was over a year and a half or 2 years or
Okay.
something. But I read it in some alpine training book.
That's
The
still,
amount of miles
even
you
if
got to
you
put in. Yeah,
even if you half it, I mean,
It's a lot.
it was a lot. Yeah, it was intense. Yeah.
I mean, I had excuse me, Taylor Spike on, and that dude ran. He did the Cocodona 250. Like, so we're trying to run 100 miles. We're going to run 100 miles in a month, if not more. But and the guy's doing 250 miles in one run. I mean, he naps like for 5-10 minutes, allegedly. But the guy to run 250 miles, to me, that seems right. And that's where I think it's important to put your ego in check and realize that maybe, I'm just going to do this for me and whatever I'm capable of. Cause, that's another type of animal.
Yeah.
I
yeah,
think
it
it's always
is.
good to have people that inspire you though. Like, like you said, Jeff, that some people, what you do in a day is their warm up, and I love that because there's always people out there that are pushing boundaries so much further. And for me, I love following Sally McRae. She's an ultra runner, professional ultra runner, mountain trail runner, and she won Badwater, 135 miles through Death Valley, and has just an amazing story. Like she should have failed in life. Like she was raised in a very abusive household. She had to work for everything that she had. And she just became this super inspiring person that keeps pushing limits, pushing boundaries. And she's like, I don't know, upper 30s. She's got 2 kids when she became a pro. I just think that's amazing. Keeps inspiring me to dream bigger, push more. Like there's always more that you can continue to do.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. And even that said, right? Like, and that again, that's why I love being around Jeff and all you guys. Like, because just seeing like the example, like to the point, like 22,000 miles or whatever it is, like it just starts my brain going, "Wow, that's possible." Right? It's the what's it? Bannister, Robert Bannister, Bruce Bannister. Um, what's
Yeah.
the 4 minute mile guy? Roger Bannister.
Rubber bands, yeah.
Yeah,
Step
like
four.
it's that, and just having someone set that example, set the bar to show that it's possible,
Yeah.
it can be done, and it's being done is awesome. A great
And
great
once he did
exposure.
that, yeah, once he did that, somebody else came and beat his record a few months later, and he actually never became like a world like runner. He actually became a neurologist. He believed, hey, we can do this. And everybody's like, well, if you did that, you got to have all this perfect conditions. You got to have the perfect track surface. You got to have, you need thousands of people's in the stand to just cheer him on. He didn't have any of that. He had terrible weather. He had like this clay track. There was not many people that showed up, and he crushed it. He believed that he could, and that was the whole point. It's like, and that's why I always say, it's like I want to live in a world where this is possible. Has anybody done this?
Mhm.
Has anybody done that? And it's like it's really about becoming the type of person that can achieve that goal. It's about the journey. It's never about standing on the mountaintop, because guess what? There's another mountain out there to climb. And so, and that's the whole goal. It's like, that's like the pursuit of excellence, is never stop climbing, never finish you. It's one of my core values. Every single day, just get that 1% better, 1%, 1%. And at the end of the year, it's like you've become this entirely different person.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Uh,
Love that.
and, and I'd recently put up, I think last month, just one of the things that really, I think, just kicked me into gear. And, I was doing a lot of things, but certainly I wasn't habitually doing like month long challenges. I hadn't done something like that, like the month of Murph, since I did 75 hard. And that's, I think, had been over a year. But it was really rang true to what I recently posted around, self confidence is keeping the promises you make to yourself, right? Like, it, man, and I felt really great about just getting the month of Murph done, like committing to it and just no excuses, getting it done, and really just kind of rolling into this. It does level you up, to your point. Like, and again, we've all got kids. I mean, all you guys are, two of you guys at least, are traveling full time. Chris has got 3 kids. Like, we got every excuse in the book to not do this, whatever. And even I've been really proud of a few folks have gotten COVID in the last week. And I get the message like, man, I was really hurting on my run today. I'm like, cool. What, and they would say, hey, I couldn't do 5. I did 3. And then next day they would go, well, I got COVID, so I was only able to get 2 in today. Like they're still pushing. Like they're not going, I got COVID, I'm out. It's just like, and I'm like, man, good for you. Like, keep, and because there's that habit too. Because I think there's a part of us that the minute we fall off, like Jeff and JT mentioned this earlier, like the habit part, like the minute we fall off that habit, like, ooh, we're starting to slide down that slippery slope. Like you skipped that day, you started a neuro pathway of skipping days, and as opposed, and same thing with getting up early. Jody and I have definitely learned that we don't sleep in on a weekend or nothing. Like it used to be a point, like get up early, get up early, get up early. Oh, Sunday, let's sleep in and catch up on rest. But number one, we hated it. Like waking up at 7 and realizing like how much opportunity lost there was. So now we get up early through the weekend still, and it makes continuing that through the week so much easier, because when we would like get the extra rest on the weekends, so to speak, Monday was harder, getting back on the train. So it's the
Mhm.
habits, and just, you're always growing, like the more you stick to the stuff. And it's so but self-confidence wise, just setting the sights on something like this and actually going out and doing it, like really, it really burned that quote in for me. Just
Yeah.
you want to build your self-confidence, keep the promises you're making to yourself. And it's so easy to come up with the crap.
Yeah. I appreciate being part of a group doing it too, because now I don't feel it just helps with accountability. And, so I know no one's watching, no one's, looking at my Strava that I know of, but, um, just knowing that you've said it to somebody else as well. So, and then in turn, that self confidence comes from that too. That's just it's just an extra like checks and balances too. That you're part of something. It's not just you.
Hmm.
Not that you're letting other people down, but you told them you're going to do it. So if you told them you're going to do it, then get your ass up and do it. If it's going to be at 3 p.m. today, then it's going to be 3 p.m, but it's going to get done.
What's the so I guess what's the weirdness, right? Like what's your maybe weirdness or your non-negotiables, with regard to your runs, right? I mean, we got our pal Frank Leo runs around with a tennis racket, like that's pretty weird. But anyone else got like any quirks or hey, I got to do this before I run, or I'm not running without this or whatever, whether it's
I did have something weird happen to me recently before we get into this, and you can't really see, but my left ear, or my left ear has this like big like sack swollen. A bird hit me in the side of the head about 6 weeks ago, and I didn't think anything about it, and I was just like, well, that was like, watch where you're going, dude. It's like I'm running, and my ear has swollen up, and I just need to figure out a way to like drain this thing. It's like I have this big wrestler ear or something now, or rugby ear. Anyways, a little random.
a bird ran into you and you're 6 weeks
It's like
later
a
your ear's
hummingbird.
still swollen. That's weird.
Yeah, it's weird. It's really sudden impact can cause, because I looked it all up.
Yeah.
Of course you did.
Armchair doctor, and it's like, okay. So, but anyways, that was weird. Things I can't weirdness. I can't run. I can't actually do anything in the morning until I've done a 10 or 15 minute plank, and then I do 10 to 15 minutes of yoga and stretching. It's part of I call it booting up my program,
Mm.
and it helps my body to get into a state of where I can do whatever I want. And I know I'm not going to hurt it. It's kind of like warming up the car, and it helps me to get my mindset right as well about what I'm going to do. I'm totally focused at that time. It's a time where I'm typically will be listening to like YouTube videos or something that is going to inspire me and feed the good wolf. That's me. It's like it's priming the engine for what I'm about to go do, and I'm very serious about it. It's like I'm very very focused.
So why the
Doing that.
plank?
Helps strengthen my core. I actually don't do any core exercises except for a plank. Years ago, I had a back injury. I could barely walk for about a year. It was a long time ago, and I found that yoga and doing planks really helped. And I just worked my way up to a 15-minute plank a day. Now at time, I do 10 minutes no matter what. Depends on how much time I got. And I'll do half up and then the other half down. And it's just sitting there uncomfortable, in that. And planks never get any easier, folks. It's never comfortable. But that's it. One of my weird things is I've become kind of a shoe collector when it comes to running. I have a pair of shoes for every day of the month, probably. Just I don't know what it is. I'm addicted to running shoes, and I used to buy one pair of shoes. I'd run for a whole year, and my feet would hurt. I'd have all these injuries. But now I'm doing trail runnings. I'm running on a treadmill. I'm running on down here in the city, and I have a locker here full of running shoes here where I work, so that I'm constantly changing up the mileage on them. That's kind of my weird thing is running shoes. My goodness, and when I find a pair of shoes that I like, I will buy several pairs and I'll put them in the closet because I'm like, once I run like 300 miles on this pair, I have a new pair sitting there waiting on me, kind of like tires, in the garage to put them on. So I'm a running shoe connoisseur. That's me.
All right, we got to shut the show off now. That's just too
I
weird.
want all the shoes.
Thanks for tuning in, folks. We're out of here.
A real quick funny story. I was running once, and I live in a pretty wooded area, and a squirrel had fallen out of a tree and landed like 3 feet in front of me. Like I literally almost like stepped on it and freaked out. Like I screamed, like dropped. I had my phone with me, dropped everything, and if someone would have seen it, they would have thought I was crazy. I'm just glad it didn't land on my head. That was a good thing. And one of my weird running quirks is I have to end my mileage on like I could never finish a run at like 7.89 miles. Like I would have to finish at 8 miles. I can't.
Right there with you.
Yeah. My OCD would
I
not
will run
allow such a
circles in a
thing.
parking lot if that's what it takes.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I don't have it. I mean, I probably the one quirk is I listen to like late '90s rap the entire time I'm running. So, which is always interesting when I go to get in the car with my family and it connects to my phone and it's like Jay
You
Z.
think my shoe fetish is weird?
Yeah, right. My wife looks at me. She's like, "What the fuck?" That's just my thing. So I enjoy running to it.
I get it.
The attitude era, man, can't beat it.
Yeah, yeah.
I mentioned this I think before talking to one of you guys. I do the Wim Hof before every workout now. When we circled up for lunch, I was mentioning this. That's been a big energizer, like pre-workout doing that. So now that's been like my non-negotiable. Like I won't start a workout. Like I probably have had it just in a rush or something. But I can't think of a time where I don't start a workout doing the Wim Hof beforehand, just getting amped up that way.
How many rounds of that do you do, Dale?
As far as what do you mean? Like, breath holds?
Yeah.
I'll do 3 rounds.
Yeah, that's perfect. Perfect.
What's, do either you other guys do the Wim Hof at all? Or any kind of breathing exercises for a part of your workout or before anything?
Not before. I do meditation. I'll do box breathing at
Yeah.
some point during the day, but not before. Sometimes depends on the workout. I will do meditation before and after. Like my weekends is kind of like my LSD, my long slow distance, and it's not always slow. It's going to be long, but it's going to be something that is really going to push me mentally to dive into this thing. And so I'll do meditation before and after to kind of sandwich that,
Yeah.
and it really helps a lot. When 4x4x48 did meditation before and after each run to really help tame the beast and give
That's
myself.
a good idea.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of that. That's a good idea. But you were going to say, JT?
Oh no. I as far as the Wim Hof, I mean, I do it sometimes before. I mean, sometimes I'll do it right after. It's that, but that's been part of my process since I got sober. Like Wim Hof is that style of breathing. It calms my brain. It energizes in the morning, but it also gives me a level of calmness that I normally, I would try and find in other ways. So it's been a big part of for me for past 3 years.
Yeah. Did you notice a difference once you started doing it as far as like before your workouts or the workouts that you do it versus don't?
As far as like if most of it for me is it's a mind difference. I don't know how much it's changed cardiovascularly. I know when I was like racing bikes, there was this, like Greg LeMond had put out a book, and a big thing was about breath holds, and I know that can really help. But for me, it's a more calming thing for my mind. Like I tried meditation, and it's always helped, but nothing puts my brain at ease quicker than whatever voodoo happens from hyperventilating and then breath holds. It's like magic for me. So
Yeah, cool. The in long runs, Jeff, you reminded me, like when I did a ton of long runs, I did box breathing during the run, like kind of cadencing in with my my steps. It's like I just automatically was just doing box breathing around like the way I was in my strides rather, and it just calmed me, just kind of let me fall into like this meditative flow, just like, you know how it is, right? Like once you're out there and it's 10 plus and it's just like all you've got like is the thump, sometimes I would just fall into that, just like, matching my breath with my strides, which, just, I don't know, just it's a bit meditative, I guess. I don't know. Mm-hmm. So you guys do that too, or?
Yeah.
I like finding things that are meditative or, rhythmic when I'm running. It's for me this week, I ran in the rain, and it was like the rain, my footsteps, my breath, all were kind of synchronous, and it was just very calming. I didn't even realize it was raining anymore at one point. Like it was just go. So I'm like, this is awesome.
Yeah, one of my weird quirks on a longer run, I'm just going to go out like on Saturday and run for a while, and I don't want to take in any more information, like listen to a podcast or a book. I listen to music, but I will listen to the same song on repeat the entire time that I run, whether it's 10 miles, 15 miles, it doesn't matter. It puts my brain and lets me to just, I have this rhythm in my head, and it allows me to just go off and think.
Mm.
And I love it. I know. I think for some people, I know JT. We've talked about this. Just drive you crazy, and uh, um, I love it.
Yeah, well,
Sometimes it's like a 2 minute song, and it's just on repeat. That's it.
yeah, and right, and that's just everyone's individual, and for Jeff, like that's just the way your brain works.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
um, finding those things, and then and realizing everybody's different. And, Dale, I did the same thing. Like someone who taught me to run, it was that if I wasn't going too hard, it was 2 in, 2 out. Like that. Two kind of like segments of breath in, 2 out, and it would fall right in step with your feet. But and then if I got faster, it was 2 in and then 1 out, and but it was a way to control it. So yeah, I completely get what you're saying. And then Kris, like yeah, on a great day, you fall into that kind of trance where you're like, maybe you didn't realize you're often in wherever you are in your brain, you're like, I don't even realize the last 2 miles that went by. Like those are the good days, right? Like that
Those are
happens
great
every now and
days.
then. Yeah, you're like, oh man, that
yeah,
was awesome.
yep,
Jeff,
yeah,
I've done the same thing with a song. Like,
yep,
and I actually thought of you when it was just like this one day, this one song, and I like could not get enough of that song. I just
yeah.
wanted it on repeat, and I was like, oh, this is like Jeff Harris.
Yeah, yeah. It's almost like you find this new flavor of ice cream or something. It's like I can't get enough of this. It's like I just need this song. Yeah, I find something else that I running cross country in high school. I hear my coach in my head constantly. It's just a self awareness check. I'm checking my form. I'm checking my hands, my grip, how my elbows are placed. Am I raising my knees? Just doing a self check throughout my body. I'm listening to my body. Is there any pains? Something my foot strike right, and just always checking in. So I'm not always on autopilot out there, but it's always checking the machine. So make sure I'm optimizing. I'm not working against my body's biomechanics.
Mm.
I don't know about you guys, but just recently, so that same gentleman that I said I ran with when I was younger, and he's my age now, he's recently passed. And so but I had this connection with him from trail running, and also lost a friend who's young. He's 41, but he would be on the same trails that I would go running now. And for me, that's almost like a way to connect to those people. Like it brings back memories of when I was younger running with this guy who was like a second father to me. And that's always been like, even when I'm struggling now, it's something I can think about. Like one, I get to do this. Two, I'm getting to connect with people that like, that enjoyed the same thing doing it. And that's actually been pretty meaningful to me in the past, probably 6 months.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, and I find too, going out and running. That's one of my things every morning. Start off with a gratitude journal, but while I'm out running, I always remind myself that I get to do this. I mean, there was a time in my life where I could barely walk,
Yeah.
and I know not everybody has the ability to run due to some injury or something like that. So I look at it as honoring the gift that I have for that day.
I love that. And I don't know about you guys too, but trail running to me is almost a spiritual experience. Just being out in nature, taking a moment to even stop and just taking your surroundings, and then just pushing yourself. And I love the ability to, we talk a lot about thinking and about checking boxes and doing that. But when I'm on trails, everything shuts off and I'm focused on every step. Because if I misstep, I know that I could, sprain an ankle. I could, do something, hurt my knee. So I have to be very conscious of every step that I'm taking, every breath that I'm taking. And I love it so much. It recharges me every time I get to go out to the trails and just hammer.
I
Yeah.
love that. It's
Go ahead.
it's like mindful running to be able to unplug all devices and just be present in the moment in nature. It's pretty magical.
It's
Yep.
a thing, man. Just the because I've certainly watching some of the like mountain shows, the Alpinist and 14 Peaks and all that stuff.
Mhm.
Like I've heard mentioned, and I've experienced it as well with jujitsu because I used to say the same, which was like this hyper focus exercise, whether it's climbing a mountain free solo or running a trail. So you've got to be hyper focused or being on the mats with someone trying to choke you out. Like you have no choice but to be like in that moment. And that's really a focused meditation. Like I mean,
Yeah.
you're just focused on that period. You've boxed everything else out and you're there. So it's been nice to hear folks say like Kris say that and hear it on those shows or whatever, because I was like, yeah, that's, and it's key, it's in that's, I don't know, it's some of the mental relief, like to give your brain a break of all the other stuff that's constantly beating on you, and have to be in this environment where you're hyper focused and it has no choice, right? You kind of are able to you have like, it's just shut off, it's a good experience, hard to put in words.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I find I read Rich Roll's book years ago, and Finding Ultra, and he talks about it's like the further you run, you kind of get your machine going, and it just like it starts to run more optimally, and just just kind of you're in cruise control. And I find the same thing. I find until I get to a certain mileage, I almost feel like I'm kind of like grinding through some gears, and then
Mm-hmm.
finally I hit this peak, and I'm just gone, and that's when the miles go by, and I'm just on a whole nother world.
Mhm.
It's wonderful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same. Mine was 7 miles at one point. Like I didn't feel like I was in stride until 7 miles. And it was it, but
Yeah.
I'm and I wouldn't know how to put it in words, but you just said it great, which was like it's just things weren't firing yet. It just took.
Mhm.
I used to say it took me 7 miles to warm up. Like otherwise, I was just kind of clunky, not in stride, like whatever. And then finally, it was just kind of like everything. Let's go, and you're just like starting to flow again. But yeah.
Yeah. Agree.
Yep.
The as far as recovery stuff, because it's a big recovery is a part of training, right? So what do you guys do to recover from your runs, or or that you're doing to kind of be able to get the miles in, avoid injury? Any kind of tips, tricks, thoughts on recovery? I know sleep, Jeff, you mentioned.
Mhm.
Yeah, I look at it as a pyramid, and the sleep is kind of the baseline, and taking care of that, really taking care of your mindset, your mental health, on that base layer. But rest is where the real growth happens. And
Mhm.
in anything, don't compromise that is my recommendation. Your recovery is absolutely essential, and so I optimize my routine. Even go to sleep, taking it up some salt bath, winding down. There's no TV or anything like that. We have blackout curtains. The hotel I stay at, it's pitch black, and these blackout curtains. It's wonderful. I keep house is like an igloo. My hotel room is like an igloo. I think you could use it as an ice box. It has to keep it cold so I can sleep
Yeah.
really, really well.
What are we talking? Like what kind of cold?
It's I bring a down coat just to sit there in the evening and work because I keep it so cold. But it's all optimized for me to kind of like put myself. I picture myself like envision like I'm putting myself into like this state of just recovery, and it'll optimize my sleep. So that's worth it. But those are key things. At home, we have a weight. We use a weighted blanket. There's a lot of science behind that, and that is wonderful. Here, I don't have a weighted blanket, so I take extra blankets from the hotel and I put them on there to make it heavy. Of course, it helps too because it's so cold. Those are absolutely key. And I listen to my body. I typically wake up without an alarm. And first thing I do is check my watch to see how my sleep was during the night, and all the different levels, and then I look at the battery, and typically I'm recharged every single day, unless I have a few drinks or something, or if I stay up too late. And then if there's any type of craziness in my routine, then it's a challenge. And I travel every single week, and a lot of times I come down on a 6 a.m. flight. The last 2 months it wasn't available, which actually wasn't a bad thing. But I'm one of those people. I will get up at 2 in the morning and I will train. I will go to the airport and then I will sleep on the flight. And because I have my mentality is become the person that never misses a day. I look at training for me. This is me. I look at it as every day I'm putting another link in the chain, and I don't want to break that chain because a missing link can lead to another missing link. And this has happened in my life where all of a sudden I just went really downhill. The easiest way to stay in shape is once you get in shape, stay in shape. And if you get out of shape, it is like climbing that mountain again.
Mm-hmm.
But also it comes down to, having a really great diet, not eating after like 6 o'clock. You don't want while you're sleeping, if you eat really late, your body is working on digestion. You're not going to get as good of rest. That's really, really crucial. And to stay hydrated, and then don't drink a lot of fluids before you go to bed either, because then you're going to have to get up, go to the restroom. So, it's taking care of the system so that you can recover, and your nutrition. The exercise is just like the tip of the pyramid. You're only exercising maybe an hour a day, maybe just 30 minutes. Mine is 2.5 hours every day is what I train. It's me. That's what I do. That's what I have to do. It's almost like I have to do it because I have so much energy just to be able to go to sleep at night. That's me. But the rest of the day is feeding your body, making sure that it has the right nourishment, and then getting that rest. So crucial.
I, have done some more research on recovery, and because I don't think I was recovering well enough before as I was training, I thought I could just exercise and maybe foam roll, maybe stretch a little, and then I was good. And I realized very quickly that, I was in this like injury cycle that I need to start doing more. And so, Jeff, like you said, making sleep a priority was number one. And the second thing was to really go in on nutrition. And I have a friend who's an endurance dietitian, and we did, I don't know, maybe 8 sessions, and I realized like I was totally under fueling, and I didn't even realize it. It wasn't that I was losing weight, it wasn't that I was, too thin or anything, but I just wasn't fueling enough for my workouts. And so then, we sat there and just like looked at a plate and what I should be doing based on that day, and how I can incorporate more protein. So like now I have, I have a protein shake after every strength training session. Like I'm incorporating more like BCAAs into my after a run. I'm doing just like little things that are helping, and I'm noticing those big results. I feel more recovered the next day when I start training again. So that's something that I've been recently working on that's been really helpful.
Yeah, that's awesome.
For me, I'm I always have to work on mobility, so I've been doing a lot around Dr. Eric. Man, I'm going to screw his name up, but it's called foundation training. So I do foundation training on a regular basis, which looks strange. It's just kind of like these different poses, and we're talking about like the posterior chain. Trying to strengthen that up and increase my hip flexibility, my hamstring flexibility. Just like Jeff, like I spend copious amounts of time on airplanes. So that sitting position just inevitably leads to weak hip flexors, tight hip flexors, weak and tight hamstrings, calves, and that your core, the way you just, depending on how you're just kind of hanging, you're hanging on your skeleton, just it's just not good for you. So I'm constantly trying to combat that, and if I don't do that, I think that leads into that about 2.5, 3 weeks into my running where everything's like, yeah, you're just out of balance. Like you're crooked. So I try not to be crooked. That's
Yep. Yeah. You so are, and I find that too with all my travel. My goal is biweekly chiropractor and then massage, and so I try to switch up those or do them the same week. Do massage, go to chiropractor, and then I do the foam roller as well, massage gun. I travel with a little small travel massage gun, and do the foam roller. And at home, I started using chirp wheels. My wife got me those for our Christmas last year, and they're different size rollers that you use to roll your back, and it's really helped because all the constant pounding of running, it's kind of like you look at Dean Carnesi, and he's gotten shorter, with all the running. And it's important to, stretch out your spine, and it really helps tremendously. At home, I do those. I use those. I have 3 different sizes. I use them every single morning, and it's wonderful. It really helps to elongate my spine and, get all the kinks out, so that I can do what I got to do.
Is the chirp wheel that thing like it's just like it's just a
Yep.
wheel which you lay on it and you kind of roll back and forth and you're hearing it like
Yep.
pop. It's like you're in personal chiropractor and you're
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. Yeah, they're great.
Yeah, I recently saw that. It looked good. So you've got one. How long have you been doing that?
6 months now. Yeah, and that's another thing in my morning routine. After I do my stretch and yoga and stuff, I'm on my chirp wheel, and then I'll get on the foam roller just because it helps me to kind of pop my hips and do some more, bigger stretches with my hips. Because that's kind of like, I don't know, as you get older, it's like that's where all the tension kind of lies for me, is in the hips. And so I'm trying to get those as stretched out as I possibly can, as limber as I can in the morning. But I also find it's like stretching at night, doing those things, doing a massage gun and stuff, anything you can to help your body to start going into that recovery state. And like what Kris said too, it's like after you train, you got to feed your body, within the next 30 to 60 minutes. That is the prime time to take in, some carbs, some protein and stuff like that to replenish. And otherwise you can start, your body's going to start kind of like, cannibalizing itself.
Yeah.
And it's not what you want to do.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I hate to do it, but I'm going to have to jump off here.
No, yeah, we could wrap up. So, any save rounds before we jump, guys? No. Good. Well, I appreciate you guys coming on, and it's good chat. And there's you guys out there like tipping around this, man. Just start, man. Just after the second day, it starts feeling good. Your body acclimatizes, and then you get going, man. So don't get whacked with excuses. And I appreciate you guys again coming on here and sharing your tips and tricks and stories and all that stuff. So appreciate you guys coming on.
Awesome.
Thanks, Dale.
Thank you, Dale. Let's do this again, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.